Hey there everybody, and welcome to another Monday Miniatures Ramble with me, Docky, on this one for Monday the 2nd of December 2019. And we're going to start out with the miniatures I painted last Monday at the gaming store. And by the way, there's not going to be, even though we're in the run-up to Christmas now, the 1st of Advent was yesterday, I have not gotten around to finishing any wintry or Christmas themed minis yet, but the first one I'm getting started with the first ones this week. So I'm pleased with the sort of ruined roadway they're standing on. They could have been perhaps a lighter color, but I thought the figures were pretty light. I wanted the contrast, so yeah. Now I don't remember if I told you this, but I planned from the start to paint the reporter with inspiration from the movie Anchorman. The color scheme is inspired by Veronica Corningstone. There, the sort of violet or I don't know, lilac and pink scheme. I couldn't paint the cameraman like Ron Burgundy because he's not wearing a suit. But I painted the jacket red just as a kind of an homage to that movie. And I didn't know how to paint the camera. I just used some different subtle shades on the various panels of the camera and painted the lens like with the sort of gemstone effect. Yeah. Relatively simple paint jobs, but because of the very nice sculpts, I think they turned out well, and I liked it. Let's see what I painted in the way of more monstrous creatures. This is the collection of Sturgis, 6 of them. There's 2 different poses, one on a tree branch and one on a pillar of rock, and the color scheme usually in most monster manuals that have color is red for these. I went with kind of a rust red, not a bright red, that would look weird. But I tried to get their like snouts to stand out a little bit, a lighter color, because that's the most salient feature of them. That's how they drink their blood. Not a lot to say, really. Some quick and easy, a lot of dry brushing and washing, some glazing up of the highlights. Good fun, some good standard D&D minis. You can throw out players at low levels. They stop being threatening pretty soon. And here's even more monsters. This might look like a just big black blob. Because they're all very dark. These are supposed to be crows or ravens and taking flight. There is some subtle color variance here, but they're mostly black. And the variation here is there's a skeleton lying on the ground here with some clothes not yet rotted away, and I've painted those different colors to differentiate these 3 sort of flocks of birds. And then there's the bats. This is, now, I painted the bats 2 different colors, one sort of grayish and one sort of reddish. This is because I've painted one of these swarms before, this model, and I painted that sort of reddish brown color. So now I've got each of each color, and this model also is in 2 different colors. This lets me again differentiate between them. And again, there's not a lot to it. There's just a mass of things. The sculpt here, what's crawling up the cross there, is kind of unclear. It could have been a chain, but since I decided to paint the cross metal, that would be weird. So I painted like some sort of red flowers growing up there. I'm not sure if that's accurate or makes even any sense. but some sort of color just to break it up. I mean, this one, there's not a lot you can do. I mean, it's a gray tombstone and gray bats. Perhaps not the best choice, but it's different shades of gray, at least. And yeah, there's some skeleton bits lying around the base here as well. Anyway, that's what I got done. 14 minis. Seems like a lot, but most of them were really simple. Just dry brushing and washing all these flying things. So, not that impressive by my standards, which, of course, admittedly, might be a bit too high. Let's move on to the work table. Yeah, so 14 minutes might seem a lot, but as I said, it's only the simplest ones that are finished. Anything more complex with a lot of different textures and areas and colors, like these halflings and those 3 resin minis from Inks back there, they're on the back burner. This is literally the case because I don't feel really inspired by them at the moment. So it might take a while before these 3 guys are finished. But with the halflings, at least I know what to do. It's not complicated, difficult. Really, it's just doing it, and it's a lot. I've done some more work on the metallics here. You might see and the leather work. But you know, this last week I've had almost no free time. I mean, I finished most of what I did last week at the game store on Monday. Both the reporter and the cameraman and the Sturgis were mostly painted there. And then I did the bats and the ravens and finished up a few little details at home. Now this coming week, I have much fewer constraints on my time. My evenings are almost entirely open. Technically, there's nothing scheduled. On the other hand, I do feel stressed by having a lot of tests to grade. I might have to bring some work home with me a few evenings and sit there and reading and writing. So that might cut into my painting time. But I still feel like I will get a bit done. You know, I'm aiming to... My ambition is to finish these halflings plus the 3 minis I'll take to the store tonight that I'll show you in just a minute. And if I accomplish that, that's 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, that's going to be 17 minis. That's a pretty high goal, I think. But doable. I think it's realistic. We'll see what happens. We'll see. So, okay, let's show you those newly prepped. So here's my newly primed stuff, and with the bones things, you might not notice they're primed because I used a very light gray, Vallejo Ghost Gray primer, which is pretty close in tone to the actual plastic of the Bonesium, but you can tell sort of on the base, on these metal minis, they've been coated in gray, and as well as the basis. And here's this guy, and here's the little cookie monster. Now the Frost Giants were interesting because a lot of it was pre-assembled. They came in pieces, but they had glued together a lot of it in the factory, and it was kind of random which pieces were assembled before and which were not. I had to straighten one of the swords. The head of the axe had actually broken off in transport, strangely enough. I didn't realize bones could break, but it was easy enough to glue back on. I used a small pin. Most of this was actually pre-assembled, and I can't do anything about the spear because it's kind of molded in here, so it's going to be a little bit curved. There's nothing I can do about that. I decided not to add to the bases because these bases are very thick and stable. They're not round, so, but you know, if I used a game system that actually was picky about base sizes, I would have to add bases, but I don't, so I don't care. As long as they can stand up on their own and be reasonably stable, I'll be fine. And so, as I said, these three I'll be bringing tonight, the game store painting session. And hopefully I'll finish them up. And that will be my first real Christmas-themed minis for this year. Good stuff. So I'm very happy to say that I'm in the black again. I have positive numbers, more painted than purchased, for the first time since Bones 4 arrived. The first time this year, I should say, since Bones 4 arrived. Finally caught up. Let's see if I can stay ahead of the pack, so to speak, and keep this going. I think I should. I should be able to, I mean. So, no new arrivals this week. What are my new projects? It might look like I have a lot on my plate already, but, you know, I gotta have something in the pipeline. So I'm not gonna add a ton of stuff, just a few models. And what I've pulled out here is something with a wintry theme. This is a box by Gale Force 9 called Kessel's Band. It is 5 villainous miniatures. They belong to an adventure called Legacy of the Crystal Shard, which was sort of published in the just before 5e era under the D&D Next label. I don't know if I'll ever get to play this adventure, but I have these minis. These are some of the last Gale Force 9 minis I have in my collection of unpainted stuff. So to get that out of the way, plus they do have a proper wintry theme. So these 5, plus this is the final and last piece of my Gale Force 9 collection, which is, again, a wintry monster, the Remorhaz. Here on the back you can see it in, I think it's supposed to be, it's in 100%. This is how big it is when assembled. Very impressive looking, I think. And because I'm painting this one, I decided to also pull out this, which is the Reaper Bones Frostworm, which is the no-name version of a Remorhaz. They try not to use like the iconic D&D names at Reaper for a lot of things. So they won't call something a Beholder or even a Sturge. They call them Strige. If you remember the little buzzing things I painted last week. But anyway, this is a Remorhaz. It's a smaller one. It's not going to be as big as this one, which kind of mirrors the situation a while back when I painted 2 Behirs, the Gale Force 9 Behir, which was really huge, and the Reaper Bones Behir, which was like half the size of that. I'm not sure the size difference is that big. It's like 100% this time, but it's a pretty sizable difference. And finally, next week, on the 9th, the Monday the 9th, I will not be attending the painting evening at the game store because I have another obligation. There is an event at my school, which is in the evening, that time where I have to help out. So I can't go there. So I don't have any store painting project to start, but I wanted to start something more that is very Christmassy anyway, because this stuff is wintry, but it's not Christmas exactly. And so I pulled out of my collection of Reaper Christmas minis the 2005 Christmas Sophie 72mm. And I chose this one for a few reasons. One, I might as well paint it as soon as possible because it's so heavy it broke the blister, or rather it caused the blister to loosen from the cardboard, and I want to paint before I lose any pieces. There's 4 pieces. There's the main body, the wings, the base, and a sword, which I'm not sure where it attaches. Probably, yeah, there. It's just you would attach. It's just glued onto her belt like this, there on the hip. And she's got a Warhammer and a Christmas stocking as well. So this is a very martial Sophie, but also festive. And so one of the reasons is that, like I said, this packaging makes it sort of imperative that I paint her as soon as possible. But also, I wanted to try out painting a 72mm miniature because I've never painted anything in this scale before. I've painted several 54mm minis, of which at least one was a Sophie from Reaper, but never 72. So this is a project that's going to take some time. It's not going to be a 1 week project at all. It's going to be several weeks of very careful, slow painting, probably. I gotta find something more to put this base on. Probably I want like a small plinth, maybe. Well, we'll see. And yeah, it's gonna be a new learning experience for me. It's not terribly different from painting in 28 or 54mm scale. It just means being more layers. Slower transitions, being more careful. That's all it is. Anyway, I'm excited to start all these projects. I hope you are excited to see where they go. So if you want to see that, join me again next week. But before you do, click like and subscribe on this video, and if you haven't already done so, and comment, and yeah, share it if you know somebody who might want to watch it. And I'll be back here, even though I won't be at the store next week. I will post a video in the morning, as always, on the 9th. So join me then. But until then, Dakian is signing off.